Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and this is a video all about what I thunk of a little game by the name of Unloved. Regulars to the channel will recognize the name of this one because Unloved actually started life as a Doom mod, one that I covered in the latest edition of Doom Mod Madness, and despite a few problems towards the latter end of its campaign, I actually thought Unloved in its original form was pretty good. It had fantastic non-linear level design, was tense, atmospheric, and used its Silent Hill influence to great effect. Something that could creep you out, get under your skin. I found it a little surprising then to learn that this version of Unloved, developed using the Unreal 4 engine, decided to go in a very different direction from that generally well-praised single-player mod experience. Instead, Unloved has been retooled into some kind of co-op horde survival game that seems to be the bastard child of Killing Floor and The Binding of Isaac. Only nowhere near as fun as either of those games. Unloved drops you into one of several possible themed levels, each unified by their dire need for an electrician, a janitor, and a metric fuckton of disinfectant. The objective of every single subsequent run that you'll do of these levels is to explore the randomly generated rooms, loot them, eventually find yourself a glorified keycard, and ultimately track down rooms blocked off by yellow doors. What's in those yellow rooms? Something significant? A boss battle, maybe? Nah, yellow rooms are typically defined by the fact that they're filled with blood machines. Now that's vaguely intriguing, I guess. What do the blood machines do? Well, they power the exit elevator. Because of course they do. Naturally, alongside all of that, you'll be battling a horde of freaks and monstrosities, and personally for me, these represent one of the biggest missed opportunities in the game. Sure, they might look freaky and repulsive the first few times you run across them, but after the initial shock value wears off, you realize that all you're dealing with here are a series of escalating bullet sponges. Enemies spawn from certain marked points within the level, which struck me as a weird choice because if you wanted to freak the player out, wouldn't you just hide that? You wouldn't want to let them in on where the monsters are actually coming from. You'd want to maintain the threat that they could burst forth from anywhere at any time. Really though, enemy encounters just seem to progress along an escalating curve. The further through a level you progress, the more goodies you acquire, the more numerous your enemies will be. To the point where they're just this chaotic swarm of really janky animations and shockingly poor pathfinding AI. Instead of a descent into unfathomable horrors, most encounters just end up becoming a bit of a nuisance. I was honestly hoping for something that changed up the action every now and again. Maybe an enemy that can only be taken down from behind. Maybe an enemy that buffs other enemies. Something maybe invisible that only appears when it's about to strike. The closest Unloved ever seems to get to that kind of creativity is with the Witch. Which again is a big old bullet sponge that instead of trying to hit you in the face or flinging fireballs at you like nearly every single other enemy in this game, just gives you the death glare. Literally just stares at you until you die. I guess at the very least, at the very minimum, you could say that it tried? Only, I don't think Unloved tries anywhere near hard enough. There's potential in the concept, there's potential in the gameplay loop, but it just never quite gets there. So, yeah, in regards to the gameplay loop itself, at the end of each successful run you gain karma points, trinkets, and other items that you've picked up during the run, like ink bottles and photographs. All of these feed into Unloved's progression system. You spend karma on equipment and weapon slots, you plug trinkets into those slots for stat boosts. Ink bottles can be turned into fragments and used to upgrade trinkets, and photographs can be used to reveal backstory in the Unlockables tab, and also has a nice side effect of giving you some bonus karma. All of this serves to make you more effective on subsequent runs, eventually to the point where you might want to bump up the difficulty for better rewards, but the thing about Unloved is that there's not really any sort of meaningful endgame to aim for. The fatal flaw with Unloved here is that it just becomes a case of diminishing returns. There is no final boss here, there is just the grind, the endless tide of monsters getting between you and the next karma payout, the next trinket upgrade, the next line of text on a cryptic note. Most of this could be somewhat forgivable if the raw core of shooting monstrosities in the face was genuinely satisfying, but it isn't. The guns don't really feel all that great to use, the super shotgun might as well be called the alright shotgun, the nail gun completely misses the opportunity to nail motherfuckers directly to the wall, and the railgun... Oh, the railgun, just look at it. It looks so sad. It makes you want to build a tiny little casket for it and give it a tasteful, dignified funeral. Upgrading your weaponry with trinkets is indeed an option, but frankly one that doesn't seem all that well balanced. For example, one of the first trinkets I got for the pistol jacked up the amount of damage it deals by a whopping 200%, thereby making nearly every other weapon completely irrelevant as a result. There's even temporary weapon mods that you can acquire during the course of a run here. Sadly, they don't really make the weapons any more entertaining to actually fire. Sure, it cuts through the faceless gimps and the clowns at a faster rate, but I can't help feeling that they missed a trick by not having a comically large muzzle flash or over-the-top recoil animation to convey such upgrades. Same kind of goes for the rest. You can upgrade them, but it doesn't really fix the core problem of everything feeling just a little too meh to use. I mean, come to think of it, Unloved is a game that just seems to be in dire need of a gore physics engine. I feel like it's the other side of the equation in relation to the guns. I mean, if I fire a super shotgun at close range to some ungodly freak's head, I fully expect it to suddenly become a wet, bloody chunk bouncing off the nearby wall. It's just a given. It's just the done thing. It's a bit jarring that you have this game where the whole point is that everything is dirty and unpleasant and vaguely disturbing, and somehow your high-powered weaponry doesn't turn your enemies into mush. Like I said earlier, it just doesn't feel like Unloved is trying hard enough. You might be wondering how the co-op factors into Unloved, if there's any unique elements that it brings to the table, and you know what, I'll admit, it's vaguely amusing derping around a randomly generated labyrinth with a bunch of other clueless idiots, but what exactly does it bring to the table? Truth is, nothing new, and not all that much in general, really. You can resurrect downed allies and be rezzed in turn. Weapon mods and totem power-ups are shared across the whole team, which is nice. You can all split up and cover more ground when you realize none of you have a single friggin' clue where the entrance to the next bunch of unexplored rooms are, and that's pretty much it. I mean, when it comes to teamwork, it largely boils down to killing all the nasty things, not letting the nasty things kill your buddies, and picking up all of the random crap kicking around. It's pretty bare bones as far as co-op experiences go. There's no real meaningful or interesting gameplay mechanics in there to justify its presence, other than, I guess, the higher difficulty levels where help is very much required. I honestly worry for the people that genuinely enjoy Unloved, not because they have terrible taste, well, that's kind of part of it, but also because I don't really see this game having a lot of longevity. It's the kind of game that seems to be built around the idea of tackling those levels at higher and higher difficulties, and for that it really needs people to keep coming back. It needs people to keep it populated so they can play together. And I just don't think it'll be able to stay compelling enough for people to actually stick around. Sure, if the player count dwindles, I guess you could play it solo, but that kind of stuff only serves to magnify its flaws, and without a few other people derping around the level with you, Unloved can get a little dull after a while. In all honesty, it just feels like something that needed much more time in the oven. It's just rough. It is plain rough all over. It's got janky animation, visuals so murky you'll play most of it with a squint, underwhelming weaponry, unintuitive menus, screen jam, clowns, and after a while it just ain't scary anymore. It just ceases to be freaky, and as much as I hate to say it, and believe me, I hate saying this because it sounds hipster as all fuck, I liked Unloved better when it was a Doom mod. There you go. I said it. Nice soundtrack though. If there's one thing I can say I genuinely enjoyed about Unloved, it's definitely the soundtrack work. Some really nice stuff in there, but there you go. That's what I thunk of Unloved. By all means, feel free to disagree with me in the comments below, and hopefully you found this video at the very least interesting. Also, if you're curious in finding out about the original version of Unloved, you can follow the link in the end titles or the link in the description below. There's also a Steam store page link down there for this version of Unloved. If you're morbidly curious and want to give it a whirl for yourself, just bear in mind that it normally retails at £10.99. I'm not exactly sure what the regional equivalent of that will be, but there you go. Go nuts. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Anyway, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.